the idea in this kind of presentations in this part of the course is explaining the different systems from the different states of the speakers, and going deeper in some of the particularities of the system. So for the Spanish system, I will start speaking about the general situation of the Spanish system, and later I will start with one of the most important points, is the regularization and the arraigo. The arraigo is the most special figure in the Spanish migration system. I think it's not, there isn't any similar institution in other European migration systems. So I will focus on this issue in the second part of the class. In the first part of the class, I will expose more or less some of the key elements, or some of the key elements of the development of the Spanish migration system. So I'd like to start with an approach of this Spanish migration system, having in mind that, well, I think there is, okay, it's here. So sorry for the mistake. Having in mind that Spain has changed its migration role in the world. In fact, in the 60s, in the 50s, in the 60s, even in the 70s, Spain was a immigration country. So was a country where people went to another countries. This is especially if we talk about the route between Spain and Central Europe, and Germany, also France, also the Netherlands, also Belgium. There are a lot of families. One of their members went to the Netherlands, even my own family, to the Netherlands, to Germany in the 60s. This is very interesting because the role of Spain in the geographical and economical context changed with the accession to the European Union, to the European Economic Community in the 1986, and the growth of the Spanish economy had as a consequence the entry of lots of migrants. In this sense, it's important to have in mind the special situation of Spain, geographically and also historically and culturally. Geographically, Spain is the nearest European country to Africa. This is a very important question because there are only 14 kilometers between Tangier in North Morocco and Tarifa in South Spain. Well, in fact, the people, the activists that will come to Andalusia on January will travel to Africa, and it's an easy travel. So it's an important thing to have in mind that Spain is very, very near from Morocco, from Africa, and also there is Another point to have in mind is the two only terrestrial borders between Europe and Africa, between the European Union and African countries, are controlled by Spain. We are speaking about Ceuta and Melilla. Those are the only terrestrial borders between an African country, in this case, Morocco, and an European country, in this case, Spain. So this is very important to understand the position and the role of Spain in the in a geographical context. It's true that Spain wasn't the first migratory route destination for Moroccan. They went in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s to France and to other European countries. But with the economical development of Spain from 1986 and from in the 21st century, the arrival of migrants from Africa was important, but it wasn't the most important arrival, because the other point to have in mind is that Spain has very, very close links with a big part of America. There are cultural, there are linguistic, there are historical links between South America, Central and South America, and Spain. In fact, with the exception of Brazil, the rest of the states of America has the Spanish as their language, and also there are historical contribution, there are historical link. So for many people from these countries, from Argentina and Chile until Mexico, Spain was a very interesting destination, because they don't have cultural or some cultural problems. The first barrier is the linguistic, and in this sense, coming to Spain from Colombia, from Bolivia, from this country was easier than going to other North European countries, also even Italy, that became other important destination for Latin American people. So this position is very important. This geographical position and this historical position is very important to understand the development of the Spanish migratory situation. In this sense, it's also related to this point. It's very interesting to notice how migration has grown in Spain, because you have on the screen a slide about the number of non-Spanish people in Spain from 1997 until 2020. You can see how there was a very, very intense growth in this sense. In fact, in 1997, 1996, there were 500,000 people in Spain, 500,000 non-Spanish people in Spain. I have to explain that we have an special statistical resource. It's called Padrón. So everybody in Spain register themselves to into the Padrón. The Padrón is a estatal system. It's an estatal register managed by the city councils. So when a person is in Spain, when he or she arrives in Spain, or when he or she is born, or even when he or she changes the his or her address, they go to the city council and register this change or register their arrival. It's very important. This point, it's not. This is also not only for regular people. It's also for people with is in Spain without permission. So it's an important point, because we have a very a very useful instrument to control, to know how many people are in Spain and their origins, their situation, etc. So with this data that are published on a website, we can obtain this kind of graphics. This graphic shows how the non-Spanish population has grown in Spain for those years, going from 500,000 people in 1996, from more or less 1%, a 0.% over the whole population, until more than 6 million people in 2008, 2009. In this year, more than 5 million people. Now we are also in the same figures. More than 5 million non-Spanish people in Spain right now. So we have gone from 100% of general population to more than 12%. This is a very, very intense phenomenon, and this phenomenon has no comparison in the rest of the countries. Neither Germany, neither Italy, neither United Kingdom, neither France. The development, the growth of the migration in Spain was was developed fastly. The speed was high. We in 10 years, from 1997 to 2007, we have 10 times more non-Spanish population than before. So this is very, very important to have in mind about the regulation, the situation in Spain. And this is very important also to explain the Spanish legislation, because the politicians, the governments thought that this was a non-permanent phenomenon. The thought was that as they have entered, they will go out in the future. But the facts have shown that it's not true. that people went to Spain, and they are also in Spain right now, because we have an average of non-Spanish population, a number of people, non-Spanish people, very high. Our figures are also very high right now, and but the design of the legislation, of the migratory legislation, wasn't done with this perspective, was done with this point of view. The contrary, in fact, it was done with the idea of non-permanent people, and also with a reactive perspective. As people was coming into Spain, governments and legislature, politicians tried to change rules to avoid people going to Spain, but people continued to go to Spain. So we have a lot of modifications, a lot of laws, a lot of modification to establish more and more difficult migration systems. But the fact was that the average of non-Spanish population continued to grow even more. So this is very important to understand some of the things I will explain you later about the Spanish regulation, about the Spanish rules, because this entry of people into Spain wasn't with the adequate measures, and most of the people that came to Spain on those years come without permission, so enter irregularly. So this is very important, because in some years we had a very high quantity, very high amount of people irregularly. So this, for me, those are the 2 points of departure: the position of Spain in from a geographical and cultural point of view, and also the development of the growth of the arrival of people, of the growth of people living in Spain, non-Spanish people living in Spain. So those are on the 2 points of departure to explain the migratory system. So this slide tries to show a design of the migratory Spanish system. So I think some of these points are similar to other systems, but for me it's important to underline some elements to recover when I explain. When I will explain arrival. First thing, it's Spanish system established. The first point to live in Spain is the entry. So a Spanish system, a Spanish legislation established 2 kinds of entries. First kind is entry by an adequate position, and second, and non-adequate position. So entry by an adequate position is entry by a border control, by an airport, by a port, by the borders in Ceuta and Melilla, the borders control point in Ceuta and Melilla. Entry by a non-adequate position is entry by boat in arriving to the coast, and entry jumping over the fence, as I think you have seen on the news. So when you enter by a non-adequate position, you go directly to irregularity. You have no possibility to have documents. But if you are an asylum seeker, there is another system. So even when you have entered by a non-adequate position, you can ask for asylum. So except with the exception of this possibility, in the rest of the cases, entering by a non-adequate position determines that you are an irregular, and there is a special figure in a special institution in Spanish legislation called devolution. It's a faster system to deport a person that have entered irregularly. So this is the first point. Entering irregularly, going to irregularity, no documents, and possibility of devolution. Entering by an adequate position, it's possible with two possibilities. First possibility is entering without visa. In this case, is only possible. This is the same for all the European states, because we have a common visa code. So entry without visa, it's possible only for people coming from some countries, in general rich countries, not all, but in general rich countries, and it allows people to be in Spain for 90 days. So this is the first possibility. Entering without visa determines a time limit of 90 days, and if the time limit expires, you go to irregularity. So you became irregular with the time limit, then 90 days time limit expires. Entering with visa, has different possibilities. Those possibilities depend on the kind of visa you have. The first type of visa is a tourist visa. It's also for a 90 days limit, and you are in Spain not as a resident, you are in Spain as a stayer. You are in a stay situation. This is a similar regime to the people that arrives without visa. So this is the other the same possibility. The difference is about the country you come from. The other visas are linked to a function, to a goal, because you enter to Spain to do something. You can enter to study or research, so you have to ask for a study research visa. Also, in this case, you are in an stay situation, not as a resident, but it's true that this visa allows you to be there for until 1 year. The other possibilities are family reunification and labor and non-profit. Non-profit is the situation that people that don't want to work in Spain. For this possibility, the Spanish government asked for 4,000 euros for each month you want to be in Spain. So for a year is the minimum limit. You have to show 48,000 euros to ask for this kind of visa. There is also labor visa. To obtain a labor visa in Spain, it's not easy. The only possibility is that a company in Spain sign a contract for you, not a general contract, not asking for someone, no, a personal contract for the specific person, for the specific migrant. So this company has to start the procedure in Spain with the government. They ask the government to allow them to contract this specific person, and with the government answer accepting the application, the company send you this resolution and showing you or sending you this resolution. You can ask for the visa in the Spanish embassy, and after that, when they have when they accept your visa application, you can enter into Spain. As you can see, this is not a very flexible system. This is a very difficult system, and it's not very useful. In fact, is useless, because you have, who can contract somebody in Bolivia, in Senegal, in China? It's only for people that have met this company or this person before. They need some personal links to start this kind of procedure that launch not less than 6 months. So if you have a company, how can you wait for 6 months to contract somebody that is in other country? So this is not real. This is a fake system that it's not useful, and it's very important to have this in mind, because also for family reunification, the only possibility to have a family reunification visa is having a relative, a very close relative, your husband, your wife, your father, your mother, or your daughter or your son in Spain. It's the only possibility to have a family reunification visa. So why am I explaining that? Because the first point to establish about Spanish legal system, it's that it's not flexible. It's very useless, and it contributes to the arrival of irregular people, because the legal ways to enter are very difficult to use. So people don't go by the legal ways, the legal paths. They go by the possible paths. And the possible paths is taking a plane and arriving to Barajas, arriving to Barcelona, or even jumping the fence, or even going up a boat and cross to the Andalusian coast or to Canary Island. This is the possible path, the possible way, because the legal way is closed. It exists, but in fact, it's closed. It's also very important to have in mind that when we speak about regular and irregular migrants, those are not closed departments. People that came as regulars, as people that ask for family reunification visas, also people that made an application for labor visas, can become irregular because the government refused to renew their documents. So they became irregular. So this is a possibility. And also the Spanish system has built another possibility to do the contrary way. So going from irregularity to regularity. This way is called arraigo, and is the most interesting point in the Spanish system, also because it's the most different point in the Spanish legal migration system. In this sense, to analyze this institution, to analyze arraigo, it's important to understand that Spain has received a lot of migrants in 10, 15 years, and those migrants didn't go by the legal paths, because the legal paths were difficult to go by them. Because it was an spiral effect. So as people were arriving, Spanish government considered that the solution was making more difficult to arrive legally. As Spanish system made more difficult arriving by legal systems, by legal paths, more people arrived by non-legal paths. But people continued to arrive, and Spanish government made even more difficult legal paths, and people continue. So it was a circular, spiral effect that has had the result to create a situation in which in Spain there were lots of irregular people. And this is the second point of my presentation, an historical perspective of the irregularity in Spain and the historical analysis. So historical from the 1997. So we have some figures that there on the screen. You can see about some statistical figures about the population in Spain in different years. As I have explained at the beginning, we have this instrument called Padrón, in which we can obtain how many people is living in Spain. This instrument is very important because we can also distinguish by nationality, by place of birth, by lot of elements. So this instrument allows us to make an estimation about how many irregulars are in or were in Spain in each year. How we can compare how many non-EU people were registered in the Padrón, and how many people from non-EU countries were in or had an residence authorization. So making this comparison, when the figure of always the figure that people from non-EU countries living in Spain and registered on the Padrón is always higher than people with a residence authorization. Making the comparison, we can obtain an estimation about how many people is living in Spain without a residence authorization. So how many people is living in Spain irregularly? We can see how the number of irregulars grew a lot in the early years of the 21st century, because it's the effect of the situation I have just explained about the arrival of people, the limits of the limits to the legal pathways, and the use of non-legal pathways. And in fact, as you can see in 2004, in Spain, there were almost the same number of people with a residence authorization than without a residence authorization. This was very important. That was a phenomenon that developed on those years until 2004, with a clear intensification in the first years of 21st century. We can see how we can estimate that the figure grew from 300,000 to 1.5 million. So it's a very big number, a very important number. The solution for the Spanish government was, in the first year, was extraordinary regularization procedures. Also because irregular people started to make some kind of demonstrations They went to some church to make that demonstration. They were they did some. They started some well, some concentration, some protest. So this, and the answer of the government was doing extraordinary regularization procedure. In fact, we had four extraordinary regularization procedures to allow those regular people to become regular people. So this is a solution. But in 2004, there was a government change, and the Partido Socialista, so more or less the not left-wing Social Democratic Party, went to the arrived to the government. Zapatero, José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero, was the president, and he and his team decided a very interesting solution. They decided to start the last extraordinary regularization process. The last. They say we have 1.5 million non-regular people in Spain, so we will do a regularization procedure. This regularization procedure, the requisites were only, you have to show only that you were in Spain for 6 months and you had a contract. You have the possibility to start in a company to work in a job. So these are the only two things you have to demonstrate. And almost more than 500,000 people regularized their situation. The problem for the Spanish government was Europe. In this sense, each time that Spanish government did a regularization procedure, Europe make I don't know if advice about some kind of caution. So they established that this should be the last, because there are no internal barriers in Europe. When you allow people to live in Spain, you allow them to go to France, to Italy, to other countries. So other European states considered that Spanish regularization procedure were contrary to their interests. So Zapatero went to European Council and said, sorry, this is the last. I swear this is the last. Spain don't do any other regularization procedure. This is true. In fact, 20 years later, it's true that 2004 was the last big regularization procedure in Spain. But there was the Spanish government has a card, had a trick, because they introduced into the Spanish legislation and a special institution called arraigo. The arraigo is not a extraordinary regularization procedure. It's an ordinary regularization procedure. So you don't show that you are regularizing 500,000 people, but the effect is the same. In those years, Spain has regularized more than 500,000 people. In 20 years, I think we are more or less in 2 million people regularized by this system. But as this is an ordinary system and Europe doesn't realize of this goes under the radar. So Spain can maintain that and can establish a system in which regularization, regular and irregular, are not so separated as in other countries. This has a lot of effects, because there's also an effect about the political control, about the institutional control, about the situation on the social services. So because if you allows people to wait until the possibility to regularize it, you can't be so severe with them. So you have to accept some kind of situations. But the truth is that this system have worked in Spain, and perhaps we can to analyze more deeply this system in the next hour.
Okay, we'll take a break for 10 minutes and we'll come back in 7 and 10 minutes. It's okay, Diego?
Okay, perfect. In 10 minutes we are.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon.
Okay. Let's start with the second part.
Well, just a second, because I have lost my presentation. So here. Okay. Yes, share my screen. So, full screen. So, okay, perfect. Well, we will continue with my presentation. So we have made our general historical approach. So the birth of the arrival, the reasons that support the arrival. Now, what is arrival? So this is a system created by the law, Article 31, that developed with the reform of 2004. For me, the most important point in this sense is asking the logic behind this. So we can have asking about, or speaking about non-regular migrants, we can have in mind two kinds of perspectives, of points of view. First is we can say a central European point of view. Irregular people have entered into Europe irregular, so they have to go back. So we can't accept that they are here, because if we accept that, we are feeding the procedures to come here irregularly. So the solution is avoiding them to enter into the system and to regularize it, and also to avoiding any kind of solution for them. Well, this is a very classical point of view. It's a very solid theoretically point of view. But when you have irregular people, you can ignore them, or you can accept that you have irregular people. And irregularity is a systemic problem, but it's also a human rights problem, because irregularity represents has links with crime, because if you don't allow people to do anything about anything on their situation, on their legal situation, they are forced to commit crimes to survive, or to be, or they are big crime victims, because some they suffer labor exploitation, they suffer slavery, they suffer other kind of crimes, and theoretically you can support, you can argue about they mustn't be there, but factually they are there. So you have to do that something. It's true that so the Spanish position was that. So it's true we have to deport them, but we can't deport them. We can't deport 1.5 million people. So it's impossible for us to deport, to send to their countries 1.5 million people. So what can we do? It's true that our deportation system has had some kind of problems, but well, in any case, you can't, even economically, you can't deport 1.5 million people. So the solution is allowing them to become regular, and this is the Spanish solution, allowing them to become regular. It's true we can argue about this is also a system that fits irregularity, because people can arrive irregular people arrive irregularly, knowing that they can become regular in the future. It's true, but it's also true that for this regularization, you can establish some indicators, some elements, some requirements. So you can establish who can become regular, and you can, for example, limit the regularization when people has a criminal report. So this is also a tool to avoid irregular people to commit crimes, because if they commit crimes, they can't in the future become regular. So I think these reflections are important to understand, because it's for me, well, my point of departure is that nobody's illegal. So irregularity mustn't exist. For me, it's the point of departure, but it's an ideological point of departure. It's not a shared argument, because it's not shared by governments. It's not shared by Europe. So I accept that there are some kind of limits, but it's true that if you are logic about the system and you avoid people to regularize themselves, you are putting them in a more difficult situation, and you are making them more and more vulnerable. So the Spanish system established a possibility to introduce into the system some people that have gone out of the system. And the fact also, we can make the criticism to Spanish system that the legal pathways are almost impossible. So it's also an important point, but the fact is that in Spain there were lot of thousand people living irregularly. So Article 31 established the possibility of create some kind of resident authorization, resident permit for humanitarian reason and for arrival, being settled in the country. We have translated the whole article. So this kind of arraigo, also humanitarian reason. This is the article that supports the possibility to people to become regular living in Spain, not coming from outside with a visa. In fact, in these cases, a visa shall not be required. So this is the article that supports the arraigo system and the other humanitarian authorization, because arraigo is not the only regularization system. There are other regularization systems not so useful and limited for very important reasons. So there is residence for humanitarian reasons, victims of certain crimes, serious illness, inability to return, international protection, and also cooperation with authorities, police or judicial, labor inspection, national security, or reason of public interest. So there are some other mechanisms of regularization, but they are not so general. They are more specific, and they are also linked to public important reason. Also, the situation of victims of trafficking and victims of gender-based violence. So for those people, there are special pathways to avoid going back, to avoid applying for a visa, and also to regularize themselves into being in Spain. Arraigo system is based on circumstances and some time. So depending on the circumstance, you have to demonstrate you have lived in Spain more time, but it's the same structure for the 4 asylum systems. Living in Spain and having some personal circumstance. The circumstance depends on the type of arraigo. We have 4 types of arraigo: social, employment, family, and a new type of arraigo, training arraigo, for training reasons. Well, if I have enough time, I think so. I can explain each type of arraigo. The temporary scheme is the same, except about long term, except for arraigo and except for training arraigo and family arraigo. So the temporary scheme is a temporary residence authorization of 1 year, a renovation 2 years, another renovation 2 years, and long-term resident authorization 5 years. In fact, the first one is linked to the arraigo circumstances, and the other ones, the renovations, are linked to the general system. So if you are into the general circumstances, you can renovate your authorization. So the arraigo allows you to enter into the general system, and this is the main point, the most important point. Arraigo is the door to enter into the general system when you are out of the system, because you are in an irregular situation. And you can also arrive to the long-term residence authorization, 5 years. That it's regulated by the European directive. So this is very important. So this general structure, we can go into the different types of arrival. Well, the first one is arrival familiar arrival, family ties arrival. The basis of this is very strong family links with Spanish people. In fact, we can speak now about the subject that can apply for this kind of arrival. Very strong family links with Spanish people. The particularities that this arrival is different because it's not 1 plus 2 years until 5 years residence. For this arrival, when people obtain this kind of arrival, they obtain a 5 years residence. So this is the step before the long-term residence. So this is not a door for a general system, it's a door for the long-term residence protection. And in this case, the law only asks to prove the family relationship, not more things. Even it's possible to apply for this kind of arrival having criminal record. It's the only arrival you can apply for having a criminal record, because in this sense, the balance between family links and criminal record makes that it's more important family links in this sense, because there are very strong family links with Spanish people, which are these family links: father or mother or guardian of a minor of a Spanish nationality. So it's the first point. It's also related to the directive, to the European treaties, and also to the jurisprudence of the European Court of Justice. In fact, in this sense, there is a judgment. I can't remember, Marín Rendón or Martín Rendón. Is a Spanish case in which European Court of Justice asked to Spain for establishing a system of protection for father and mother of Spanish minors when they are not Spanish and they are not from another European country. So this is this is the first point. You see a very close link with the Spanish people. You are father and mother of a Spanish people. It's true that you have to prove also that you are in charge of him or her, or lives with their, or fulfills with your responsibilities. Also, person who supports the person with a disability of Spanish nationality in the exercise of his or her legal capacity. This is those are guardians of non-minors, of adult people with a disability. So this is also another point. Also, a spouse or partner of a Spanish citizen. Also, husband or wife or partner, registered partner or real partner of a Spanish citizen. asylum over 65 years of age who are dependents of the Spanish citizen, descendants that are dependent of a Spanish citizen or of his or her spouse or common law partner or a married partner. So as you can see, those are very, very close links with the Spanish people. It's a little bit interesting because those people before the last change of the law were under the European citizen system, but now they can apply for both systems because the last modification has incorporated them into the general system with this arrival procedure, but the European citizen regulation has not been changed in Spain, so they are also under the umbrella of the European citizen protection. So it's an strange thing because they can apply for both systems, but the main difference that is for European citizen regulation, you have to prove some kind of amount of money. You have a job or you have some amount of money and in this case you haven't to prove anything, so it's easier, but the protection is lower. But it's the last arrival, one of the last change about arrival. The second modality of arrival is labor arrival. In this case, the structure is, as I have explained before, time plus a condition, a requirement. Here is 2 years, being in Spain for 2 years, living in Spain for 2 years, and the other requirement is having had a regular work. So this labor arrival is thought by people for people that have lost that authorization, but if you have worked regularly, you had a previous authorization. So this is the first point to have in mind. The specific requirements of this arrival modality, of this type of arrival, is continuous resident in Spain for 2 years with the same criteria of arrival social, as social arrival, as we can see later. No criminal record in Spain and in the state of private residence. Being in the moment of the application in a irregularity situation, a situation of administrative irregularity, a previous employment relationship carried out in a regular situation that can be proved by any means of proof, and an activity of 30 hours by week in 6 months or 15 hours by week in 12 months. So this type is thought for people that have worked regularly and now are irregular. So it's interesting because there's a tool to recover the regularity. So it is also an interesting possibility, and you can apply almost directly because they ask you for having been in Spain for 2 years, and if you are regular and you have lost your authorization, it's easy to have lived in Spain for 2 years. In parallel with this system, we have created an authorization mechanism of particular authorization, not arraigo, but similar, for people that have worked irregularly. This is different for the other case. And they have worked irregularly, and they have to denounce the company that have given work them, that have given a job, an irregular job to them. This is a little bit difficult because most of the companies that offer work for irregular small companies, there are also people working for themselves, so there are very close link between migrant and their boss, so it's difficult. But the system, the system looks for the possibility, looks for the migrant denounce irregular work and giving them with the possibility of giving them the regularization, and in the other hand, sanction the establishing a fine for the company that have given work to an irregular migrant. Well, this is another possibility. It's not an arraigo in their words, but it's very linked to them. In any case, we have sorry, I think it's here. Okay, it's here. In any case, the most important arraigo is social arraigo. This is the most important arraigo because it's the most used and the most easy to ask, because it's the most general, and because they ask 2 elements: 3 years of being in Spain, 3 years, and some ties. The ties, the links with Spain, can be family or can be having a work, having an offer to work, because you are not regular and so you can't work. This is a fiction. This is a fake thing, because the real thing is that people is working, and the company that offered them the work in an irregular situation can contract them regularly if they ask and obtain the social arraigo. So the point is that the system forces people to be in Spain for 3 years irregularly. So some of the issues that I have explained before of the good points that the arraigo system has can be put into question with this possibility, because the system not only allows people to be here for 3 years, they offer a price to be here for 3 years. How can irregular people survive in Spain for 3 years if theoretically they can't work, if theoretically they can't ask for social for social benefits. Well, the fact is that the system accepts that they are working irregularly, but they offer and they put an end to this situation, offering them the solution of the arrival at the end of the 3 years. The specific requirements are continuous resident in Spain for 3 years. It can be proved by any way, but continuity must also be proved. So it's important because it's not only have proven that you entered into Spain, that you remain in Spain for 3 years. No criminal record in Spain and the state of private residence, and assigned employment contract. It's a conditional contract, but because it can not enter into force until the government gives the person, the resident, the authorization, and this contract should be for 30 hours as minimum. It can be reduced to 20 hours for conciliation, and it can the applicant can add the different contracts. The relevant is that the salary should be higher to the minimum wage in Spain. It's 1,000 euros each month. So the applicant can combine different contracts if they reach to the limit of 1,000 euros each month. And also the other element, very important element, is that the person has to ask to the city council, well, where he lives, where he or she lives, a report about his social insertion, his integration, his or her integration. This is very interesting because this can be a filter to avoid some kind of problems about people not speaking Spanish, people living in some kind of non-adequate situations, for people suffering exploitation. So this report can be a filter to avoid forced marriage, some kind of situation. So it's important that those are the requirements, establishing a residence link for living in Spain for 3 years. When we speak about resident here, is not a legal resident, it's a factual resident, a contract, and a report of integration. So I have they were not adequate with the adequate order, because we can also explain just for a second about arrival by training. This is the last type of arrival that have entered into the Spanish legislation. It have entered in August. It's just 2 years before, 2 months before, 3 months. 3 months before. We have not an adequate development of that, so it's a little bit difficult to explain. But for me, it's interesting how Spain have made even wider the possibilities of arrival, incorporating this kind of arrival with a very interesting requirements: 2 years of living in Spain and the commitment, the decision to take some training courses. And if you do that, you obtain an authorization for a year. So 2 years of living in Spain, 1 year of courses with an authorization. So it's very interesting because if you can make the operation, there are 3 years. It's the same thing than arraigo social. So the government have anticipated the possibility to apply for an arraigo, establishing that when you apply for arraigo by training, you have signed a compromise to make training courses. So it's strategy because you will arrive to the 3 years with a better training, better capacities to start to work in Spain, because you have made this kind of training courses, this kind of capacitation to develop a job in Spain. This is the last. I will not go deeper on in that, because also we have 40 minutes until the end, so we can perhaps, it's the opportunity to make some questions and to make some kind of reflection in common.
Yes, we have already one question about the arraigo. It's made by Elsa, and she say, was there any backlash in Spain after the new regularization processes passed? Was there more racism or anti-immigrant sentiment, or did locals embrace the new system and welcome the idea of regularizing large numbers of immigrants?
So, well,
if I understand well, it is like
yes,
2008.
I understand, but I need to use adequate words. So, in fact, I have explained that the migratory phenomenon in Spain has been shocking. So for me, for example, in when I was a child, there wasn't no white and Catholic people in Spain, in my school, in my city. So and now it's different. It's very different. The first people from an African country I saw was in Madrid when I went when I was 6 or 7 years old. So we were an homogeneous society, and we have changed. This is clear. For me, this is good. And this deep change has happened without big problems. So we can take 3 problems: one in Mallorca, one in Almeria, and one. So we can say big problems. So opposition, confrontation between migrants and autochthonous. So this is Spanish people, migrants and Spanish people. Is 3. It's true that there is Spain is a racist society. It's it's clear, because we were an homogeneous society. So all homogeneous societies are racist. It's clear, because, but I'm not so optimistic about our development as society, because it's true that when you speak with migrants, you can notice that there is some kind, we use the low intensity racism, not a big racism, but low intensity racism. So avoiding, for example, we are more Islamophobic than xenophobic. In fact, it's true that most of the migrants were speak the same language than us, have the same culture more or less than us. So there were some links, and they were almost 25% of migrants in Spain. So there are some points, but it's true also that there are some elements, but it's not so. The confrontation was not so high until last years. But it's not only a Spanish thing. Now there is an extremist right-wing party that is in the parliament. It's, well, in Italy, you know lots of about that, but we are now they are only in the parliament, not in the government, but we don't know in the future. And one of the main points of their speeches, of their positions, are against migrants. But also with tricky speeches, but they distinguish between regular migrants and irregular migrants. They are not the same, but they establish the link between migration and criminality. Migration, well, it's not new for you. It's the same that Salvini have made, that Meloni is doing. So it's the same. But for us, these speeches are very are arriving more and more to the people, and this is a bad point. But it's true, it's not linked with the regularization. It's not linked with the growth of migration, because the growth happened 10 years before, 20 years before. Now there is an opportunity window to establish this kind of agenda, and there is some voters accepting this position, and it's very hard to fight against this possibility.
Okay, Lauren McCone has another question about the Araigo training. Does this require a commitment to participate in trainings in the future after the approval of the Araigo case, or must participation in the past training be proven? And second, what hours of training are requested for that?
Well, this requires a commitment to participate. So because there must be official or semi-official courses. So, for example, an university master can be a training to an accepted training for this kind of Araigo. So, to enter into a university master, you need the authorization. So you have to ask for the authorization with the commitment that you are going to enroll into, you have to participate in a university master, and they gives you the authorization, so you can ask, you can apply for the master. So this is one kind of training courses. Also, training courses established or managed by the employment office, the Spanish employment office. Also, requirement or also training of formación profesional. So professional training, official professional training. So this kind of training, you are not forced to, it's yearly, more or less. It's established that at least a 6-month training, but for 5 years each day as a master, a university master. So is the only thing is that you can't work when you have this authorization, because this authorization doesn't allow you to ask for a work. So it's a little bit strange. So they accept you to do a master. They do not ask you for show your money, for proof that you have money. They allow you to be here. How can you be here without a job? How can you maintain yourself in this time? Well, it's a little bit, but the fact is that this year is they anticipate the social arrival, giving you or allowing you, permitting you to do this training, and you can get a best job having this training.
Okay, she respond, but probably is a comment about what you said before. Obviously, juridically, it's paradox. How I am supposed to apply for something without criminal records?
I have read. Well, there is a difference, because in Spain, being irregular is not a crime. It's different from Italy or from France. For us, being irregular is an administrative issue. You can be sanctioned by administrative way, but it's not a criminal thing. So it's not a point. It's true that some years ago they didn't accept your an arrival application if you have been detained. There is an expulsion order against you, even when the expulsion order hasn't been executed, and they didn't accept the arrival application when you have an expulsion order against you, even when it has not been executed. This changed because it was a filter, and non-logical filter with this system, because this system departs from the idea that you are irregular in Spain, and this is not a crime in Spain. It's an important point.
Okay, thank you, Diego, and also thank you, Lauren, for the great questions. And if someone else has some question, I can allow to speak. I can turn on the microphone, or in any case, you can write. We have few minutes. I think nobody for now, but it's okay.
Okay.
thank you everyone for being here tonight. We'll see again in Tuesday for the third lessons. And thank you, Diego, also for the great lecture about the Spain situation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I see you on one or